RocketPool is doing incredibly well in the last 7 days. It's one of the best performers in the top 100. What's going on? Is this a potential pump and dump by a whale, or is there something fundamentally going on? In this video, we are going to look behind the curtain. We are going to look at on-chain analytics. How much capital is locked up in RocketPool? What is it all about in the first place? What does the competition look like? Are there any issues with growing supply, right? Because the more supply there is on the market, the further down the price could potentially go. So here's what's worth investigating. Why is RocketPool up suddenly? Why is it doing so much better than the rest of the market? There's the short term and the long term. Let's start with the long term. And for that, we're going to look at a Dune dashboard. So there's a tool called Dune Analytics that allows to query the blockchain. It's actually pretty hard to analyze the blockchain. That's why there are companies that take all the data, they deserialize the data, and they put them into easily accessible relational databases. And Dune Analytics is one of those database tools. Here, have a look at the following. If you go to dune.com/drworm/rocketpool, we've got all kinds of interesting data around the project. For example, this is the RocketPool Ethereum supply over time. It's growing very steadily. We also see where the RETH, so the RocketPool ETH, is being traded, mainly on Balancer, interestingly enough, not on Uniswap. We've got the number of unique minters over time, so this is basically users. And node operators are also increasing pretty steadily over time. You want to run a node for RocketPool in order to get more return. It's also interesting to see how is RETH, so the RocketPool Ethereum, developing in terms of price relative to the basic Ethereum. We should be expecting that there is a premium on top of ETH because the staking rewards on RocketPool get priced into RETH. That's different to Lido Ethereum. When you deposit with Lido, you get an auto compounding. For Rocket ETH, the price of RETH tends to increase over time. So the premium here should be going up as we move along. But it is somewhat volatile, interestingly enough. So in the grand scheme, things look healthy. The project is growing. It's attracting more and more capital over time, very steadily even. It's growing that quickly that even the website isn't being updated on time. Look at this. 812k staked Ethereum according to the official website. But according to DeFi Llama, which looks on-chain, we've more than 1 million staked already with RocketPool. RocketPool does not operate in a vacuum. There are several pools that aggregate Ethereum that take advantage of those staking rewards, right? You lock up your Ethereum, you get staking rewards. Ethereum moved from proof of work to proof of stake. And if you want to get those staking rewards, you have to either deposit your own 32 Ethereum by yourself, or alternatively delegate this to a pool such as RocketPool. But RocketPool is only at number 3 for those liquid staking platforms. Number 1 is Lido, and Lido is roughly 10 times larger than RocketPool. RocketPool is at 1.7 billion, Lido is at 14 billion. Usually we have to be very careful with altcoins token inflation. For most altcoins, there's a lot of inflation. The team, for example, gets paid in the altcoin, or there might be incentives for early users that then get more and more token inflation. In the end, the people that just hold the token tend to lose against the early backers. So we always want to look at how much new supply hits the market. For RocketPool, that's not too bad. For RocketPool, that's only 6.1% per annum. That's all right. More often than not, we see 20, 30, 40% per annum just in increased supply over time. Now, what is moving the price recently? There are 2 drivers in the last few days. And both of those drivers had been very positive. This was the first positive news, and now we've got our second positive pump. The first rally over here was caused by an announcement by Coinbase Ventures that they are now purchasing the RPL token, so the RocketPool token. The second, more recent pump was not necessarily fundamental. So there was nothing announced on the RocketPool Twitter, for example. But if we look on-chain, we can find something interesting. We find a wallet that purchased a lot of RocketPool. Purchase after purchase after purchase. And after all those purchases had been made, or most of them, it got sent to this address over here. So it's a wallet worth 3.8 million, 1 million worth of RocketPool, the rest being Ethereum directly. So there was a big unknown whale that bought $1 million worth of the RPL token, and this is why the price is going up. Why is that whale buying? Your guess is as great as mine. Sometimes what happens is that whales buy into governance tokens like this in order to influence rules. So maybe there's an upcoming vote that requires you to hold the token, and maybe that whale has a lot of staked Ethereum and has an interest in the outcome of that vote, and so he simply just buys a lot of the token. Or maybe the whale simply has some information around RocketPool, around further adoption that we simple people don't have. Whenever I see purchases like this, right, by large unknown whales, I personally get scared because I don't want to be the exit liquidity of the run that that person has created. There's now much more attention on RocketPool because of the price increase. And when the vote is finished, or whatever the reason is why that person bought in, then probably there's going to be a sell again. What we have over here is the RocketPool price denominated in Bitcoin. And long term, unfortunately, there is no outperformance. And why would you get into an altcoin that's riskier than just buying and holding Bitcoin when you don't get that additional risk compensated? More risk should mean more return. If you take on more risk and you don't get more return, it's better to stay away. I prefer purchases that are retail driven. Then I can see when momentum shifts around and I can exit early. When there's only one person, one big whale that buys into something, I can't necessarily exit before them because I have no idea what they're thinking. But whether or not it makes sense to buy RPL in the end is your decision. If you found the information here useful, feel free to subscribe because I publish videos regularly.